ways, the .NET ways, ADO.NET ways of reading. But if you want to write application that is saving and retrieving data in SharePoint, then there is a specific object model. So this object model, if you want to read more about it, you have to download Microsoft SharePoint Services or SharePoint Foundation SDK and install it on your computer, and then open it. It's a CHM file which will give you how to get started with SharePoint development.
Great.
So this is the minimum thing you need to do. If you want to download SharePoint Services SDK, it's very small, but server is like 190.
Great, great. What are the things that we can build on top of SharePoint?
Oh, difficult question.
You mentioned web parts.
Yeah.
What other than web parts that we can build?
I think web part is just an example of any. Web part can be developed for anything. It can. It can read data from Oracle, or it can read data from any other system. But the important thing here is what kind of applications we want to develop. SharePoint is an application where you want to have, you want to replace, I would not say replace, it's a bad word, you can't just replace an enterprise application with SharePoint, It's a way that you can get all your running applications. For example, if you're a company who has 10 different applications running at all, your company, different people are using it, you can get all these applications, you can get all this data from, or you can say not all, some specific data, and get it into the portal or into SharePoint. The advantage is that this data is the mostly used data or mostly used information that an employee needs. For example, if you have an Oracle system where you have your salaries there, so rather than an employee goes and log into an Oracle portal and read that data, you can give them access to this data from SharePoint through single sign-on. So you don't need to, you just click, okay, buy my salary, and it shows you my salary. So SharePoint is a platform where you can develop enterprise level applications.
So you can aggregate all of your corporate information into one place.
Absolutely.
And give access to who can see this information.
Absolutely. This is something, and it's like out of the box. Plus, if you are developing an ASP.NET based application for your company, and you realize that this is a simple application that reads and writes data into some system or some database, you should think about using SharePoint Foundation for that, because when you start from scratch from simple ASP.NET application, you know that you have to start from building a master page, navigation, security, storage, and lots of other things. And you have to worry about lots of things first, then you start working on SharePoint. So using SharePoint, all of these things are provided by SharePoint out of the box. So you don't need to worry about creating a database table. You don't even need to use a database. You can store all the data into SharePoint lists. And then you can use the SharePoint object model to develop this application that is reading and writing data. That's the primary objective.
So using the SharePoint as a platform for building your own application.
Absolutely, you can, but you don't need to start from scratch. You don't need to worry about navigation. You don't need to worry about pages. You don't need to worry about security. Which user has access to what. You can do this out of the box in SharePoint, and through the SharePoint object model, you can manipulate that. You say, okay, this section of the page, by default, you can apply security on the list, and only the user who will see the data will be appropriate user. So because your list is secured, no other user will see that data. Okay, so only the proper user will see it. So, and you do it out of the box. You don't need to develop. I've been developing ASP.NET application back in 2005, and I remember there were special sections for security. Okay, user table, group table, user groups table, pages table, and user to groups table. So I'm sorry to say, you don't need to do all of these things. Start thinking about your code, your application. And especially Visual Studio will make your life a lot easier.
So basically we need Visual Studio and the SDK.
Yes,
Windows.
Absolutely, and of course SharePoint. But one thing that you should know, that SharePoint 2010 is 64-bit. So if you are developing application for SharePoint's foundation, you need at least 4 GB RAM on that machine. But if you are developing applications for SharePoint server and you're developing some specific application that uses some special features, you need more than 4 GB RAM on that machine. So that's a little tricky point. You cannot develop SharePoint apps on 32-bit server.
So we require 64-bit amount of RAM.
Yes.
And
like a core processor, you know. If you normally, I think every person in this world now has a core processor, you know. So if you have a core processor, it will work very nicely.
Great, great. Can you tell us where we can get resources from your community?
A lot of resources, you know, based on what do you want to do with SharePoint. You can just visit specific websites. Best place is to go to sharepoint.microsoft.com, and this is the best place to understand where you belong. SharePoint administrators can go to, there is a SharePoint implementers place on TechNet. So there is developers page, so you can go to mssharepointdevelopers.com and you will find everything that you want to know. The thing is, you know, we are just talking about how to get started, how to get you started. Microsoft has already placed lots of videos. So you can go watch a 10-minute video, and if you have a machine with 64-bit server or a machine, you can simply start developing with SharePoint. There is no stop on you to wait. Just go ahead and do it.
Great, great. Okay, Jerry, thank you very much. Make sure you follow Jerry on Twitter.
Yes.
Find his ID here.
Okay.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Okay, sure. In the next episode, we'll surely go with some demos.
Sure.
Okay, definitely. This was just a starting point, and we will surely see you on the next one. Okay, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.
See you.